Hello, my quilty friends. It's Stacy of Stacy Creates Stuff, and today I am going to tell you all about my 2025 sew-along, Stars in the Garden. With the ho-hum of winter upon us and the gloomy, miserable days, one can only dream about spring. And so I designed this very bright and colorful, full of spring colors, quilt called Stars in My Garden. The way the sew along works is that each week I will bring you a video tutorial on how to make that week's block. There are 12 weeks in the series. We won't exactly be making 12 different blocks, because some of the blocks are repeated, but just in a different colorway. Some weeks you'll make just one block. Well, only 1 week will you make one block, and that is week 1. After that, you will make anywhere from 4 to 8 blocks, all the same block in that color. And then another week you will make another block, sometimes 4, sometimes 8. In the end, you will have a lap size quilt, but you can add borders to make it larger. And I will go over all those details when we finish up the quilt top. The pattern for this, well, it's not so much a pattern as it is a guide. So there is a guide that you can download off of my website just by joining my Stars in the Garden mailing list. Each week I will email a reminder that the video for that week is available on my YouTube channel and that a text and picture version is available on my website's blog. If you love the colors that I have used for my quilt, good news! There are kits available from my favorite quilt shop, Vintage Pink and Green. There is a link in the description below that will take you to purchasing the kit. Now, the kit will include all the fabrics for the blocks. Borders, backing, binding are not included in the kit. If you choose to use your own stash, not a problem, and it's super simple. So let's talk about what you will need to make this quilt. I've tried to keep this as simple as possible as far as organizing your fabrics for the quilt. And you will need a total of 18 fabrics, 1/2 yard of each of those. Now, from some, once you've done the cutting, you'll have a little bit left over, and from some you'll have a little less left over. But that allows you to be able, in case you have a miscut or a mishap, to have a little extra fabric for that. I promise, though, that you will not have a ton of any particular fabric left over. I would call it a comfortable amount. I chose to use batiks for all of my fabrics, and here is what I used. 3 whites. Each of the whites that I used had a little bit of a light beige pattern on them, and I thought it was just enough to add a little pizzazz. 2 light pinks, 3 medium pinks, 2 dark pinks, 2 light greens, 2 medium to dark greens, 2 light blues, and 2 medium to dark blues. If you don't want to use those particular colors, feel free to instead use purples and yellows and greens, whatever suits your particular taste. Generally, you need 2 lights and 2 medium or darks, except for the pink, which required 2 light pinks, 3 medium, and 2 dark. So whichever fabric you want to use, where I have pink, just make sure you have essentially 3 shades of that. Once you download the guide, use it to cut the pieces that you need for each of the colors. So the first white, the second white, the third white, and so forth. You can use the sheet that's included in the guide and cut apart the block numbers so that you can better organize your fabric. I found it easiest that once I cut one fabric, I went ahead and distributed those pieces into their little block baggies. There is a chart included in the guidebook that you can see what pieces go into which block. Once all of the fabric is cut, then I organized it into a bin, putting the blocks in order so that I was ready to sew. This sew-along is structured so that you don't necessarily have to start at any particular time. You just go ahead and start whenever you feel like it and work at your own pace, whether that is weekly keeping up with the blocks or taking and sewing everything together at a quilting retreat. Once the lessons are released on my YouTube channel and my website, they will stay up indefinitely. I have had so much fun sewing these blocks together, and I look forward to showing you how to create the stars in my garden quilt. Be sure to sign up for those weekly notifications about the Stars in My Garden sew-along by clicking the link in the description below. This is a beginner-friendly quilt. There are only 2 real things that you need to know, and you can learn them and master them with this quilt. One is half square triangles and the other is flying geese. And if you are a more experienced quilter, I think you will still find a lot of enjoyment in making these blocks. There's a few that I had never made before, and I have been quilting for decades. I'll see you next week for our very first block, and we're going to start right in the center. Until then, my friends, this is Stacy of Stacy Creates Stuff. Bye.